Good evening, everybody. Guess the evaluation tonight is more of the same. That, as we can see, the last 4 trading days have been indecisively blah, and it can be seen where this was all occurring. Kind of in this downtrending pattern with a potential bottom down here. So as you can see, the direction of the market is pretty much sideways. Also illustrated over in the NASDAQ. Make this smaller. I mean, that just tells us we're not going anywhere. So all you can do is try to play the bounces, but even that's a little bit tricky. So you can see after what I would call an extensive uptrend, we're now in this whipsaw stage, which is not unusual for market conditions that go through months of consolidation after a very strong uptrend. So at this point, what does that analysis tell us as far as which way is the market going? Well, if we just look at it and say it's really not going anywhere, that kind of creates puts us into where we know what our strategy should be for our portfolio. Oh, Pat, I don't know what sure there must be. So, what does this kind of allude to? Well, we probably don't want to be predominantly long. We don't probably want to be predominantly short. We want to have a little bit of both. So the ones that are, again, the nice thing about candlestick analysis is no matter what your market conditions are, very simple scans are going to kind of bring out which patterns are working the best. As we can see in this fry pan bottom on our recommendation on AKCA today, it was based upon observe the obvious. You started seeing buying occurring right here off the 50, and there's kind of our double doji sandwich. If it opened positive today, you pretty much wanted to be a buyer. Grub kind of along the same scenario. You can see the fry pan bottom setting up, and where is it setting up? Right off the 50-day moving average. So we don't know what the results will be from these, but we know the results will probably be in our favor, knowing that we can identify what type of patterns are setting up, like a fry pan bottom, which are additionally enhanced by the fact that they're supporting right on the 50-day. Other ones that are in progress, knowing that we had a bobble breakout right here on CRZO, tells us that that's still got some more upside. And that's going to be a function of whether the crude oil prices are going to stay strong. As we can see right now, crude oil prices are in this uptrend. They backed off during the day today, but closed up near the high end of the range, and then after hours they're trading a little bit positive. Okay, so we also recommended XNet today based upon this breakthrough of the 50, kind of on a bobble breakout. we didn't really have it execute today because there wasn't a whole lot of strength in it after it opened. But that does not mean it leaves our watch list. We still have a wave 1, a bobble breakout going into wave 3. We can still be buying this on positive trading. And this is one of the aspects that people should have or be aware of. And not only, and I hate to say this based upon identifying what somebody else is picking, because that kind of takes away from the aspect of everybody should be doing their own scans and coming up with their analysis of which charts look the best the next day. So when I pick out a chart that looks good and it opens and trades lower, it doesn't leave my watch list. It's still on the watch list because of the analysis of what the overall trend or pattern is. So still we'll be going after this one, but now have a different criteria for entering. If it comes back up through the open of today and tomorrow's trading, what's that tell us about our wave 3? Wave 3 is still in progress. So there'll be a lot of times where you see a pattern setup that you might not come in on any exact day, but you want to keep it on your watch list. This is EXAS, telling us that this area is acting as support. We're in a J-hook pattern. We started buying some VRX on that same basis. This is why we want to identify or learn to visually identify all the different patterns. What do we know about a fry pan bottom? Has a strong price move. What do we know what the prerequisite for a J-hook pattern? Strong price move. What type of pattern or signal are we setting up here? Kind of a morning star signal. And what's the other element that kind of confirms that they're buying? Because every time it comes to the T-line, they take it back up again. So where's our next likely target? Well, on a short-term basis, probably filling this gap, getting into this area, and then if it breaks out through there, lots of running room up in this area. So this is nothing more than saying, all right, is there anything that's showing that there's any buying going on after the identifiable pattern? Or do we have something like this, where after the buy started, even though we don't have a sell signal or a close below the T-line, you can see what's happening to investor sentiment. It's just flat. So this is part of that evaluation where if we're buying based on wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, and then we start seeing sell signals that even though it's not confirming by closing below the T-line, we also have to analyze what's the investor strength at this point. There really isn't any. So remember what our one of our criteria is. If something looks iffy, close it out because there's going to be a good chart pattern someplace else. Why risk at this point holding on to this trade, even though it's still trading just above the T-line? What's our assessment as far as the bulls and the bears? It could go this way, it could go this way, or it could go this way. So what advantage do we have? None. Move your money off to someplace else. I don't know whether it's turning into a flag or not. See, it's just not a chart that's telling you which way it wants to go. CLSD. There's your kind of your cradle pattern. But what's it been telling us as far as the confirmation of the cradle pattern? Nothing there. If this one traded flat tomorrow, I'd close it out if I was long, because it's telling us cradle pattern didn't work, or there's not enough energy in this to stay in it. Same scenario on Watt. Nice bobble breakout. But now what's our chart telling us? Do we have any great conclusion as to which direction the price move is from here? And at this point, not really. We don't know from this doji whether they're going this way, this sideways, or up. So if they open this lower tomorrow, that tells me there's nothing there. Close it out and move on to something else. Part of the successful investing is getting into a pattern where you know what the results should be and getting out of that signal or pattern when you see that the results aren't occurring. Because every time we leave our money in hoping for it to continue of what we expect it to do, anytime we figure that we're hoping that it's going to move one way or the other, that means we've lost our analysis that we should have a pretty good idea which way it should be moving. Okay, and then another one, HRTX. Started out nice, still just above the T-line, but not with any great energy one way or the other. So it's still above the T-line, it's still in an uptrend, but what should our assessment be at this point? If it doesn't break out through this level tomorrow, close it out because we don't know which direction it's going. LKSD. This one was a good buy, good steady eddy. Notice what it did today. Pretty much pulled back, used the T-line area as a support, but this is the advantage of knowing what we should expect after each signal or pattern. Got a doji. What's our doji rule? Price is usually going to move in the direction of how they open it after a doji. They open this lower tomorrow, close it out. Tells us we've lost our trajectory. If it opens positive, pretty much tells us hang on to it, there's more upside. So if we close all the wedge patterns, could we place buy stops above the trend line in case it pops? Definitely, John. And that's probably a much easier way to take advantage of not having to sit in something where we don't know whether it's going to continue sideways, head down, or head up. So if you're coming to a point of a wedge, what are the three directions that can go from that point of that wedge? Up, down, or sideways. And as you can see, 2 out of those 3 aren't going to do you any good if you're buying long or if you're going short. So why be sitting in something where the probabilities are now not in your favor? Close out the position. I would rather be a little bit late to the party, but know that I'm moving in the right direction. On the other hand, got some short positions where Grub and AKCA were fry pans. We got a dumpling top still occurring in IRBT, and that shows weakness on this short-term basis. Shows more weakness on this big fry pan bottom. So I'd still be shorting this one on weakness with the anticipation that if they break this down, especially through this area, you could have another big pop to the downside. We recommended DIOD as a short. Why? Look at our big bearish belt hold, left-right combo. That tells you the sellers are taking control. We can short this one. If I was shorting this one tomorrow on weakness, I might short half a position and then watch to see what it does here at the 200. If it breaks through there, short the other half a position. And Light, which was setting up few days ago as a possible long. Now you can see is now a good short setup. So here's another one. Because of the little kicker type signal, notice it opened here and closed here. Next day they opened it below where they opened it the previous day and went the opposite direction. That is your alert, your message, your visual analysis to say, all right, the bears are coming in with a lot of strength at this point. SANM. It's one of those that needed to break out. It didn't. However, I think after hours, it's trading up in this range. So a lot of people say, well, shoot, you would have been out of this. Yes. You missed this. Yes. It's not the point of trying to, anticipate this move. There's going to be times where you can't. But the point of candlestick analysis is if it opens up here, now what do we analyze? We analyze to see if it's going to do a 45 degree. And VMW is one we've been trading because of this fry pan bottom, wedge breakout, kicker signal, bullish flutter kicker. Still looking for a J-hook pattern to take us up to the next level. All right, so right now, because the market's in the stage where it is not very exciting at all. And you can see that in the major traders. Amazon pretty much wouldn't be long or short Amazon right now. What was the alert for coming out of Amazon? Notice as we were just climbing into the overbought area, they gapped it up. So where was your safety stop? Right there at the open. These are just simple techniques to close out of positions that aren't working or have reversed based upon the simple rules that the Japanese rice traders provide for us. And, I mean, it's not difficult. If you see a gap up in the overbought area, get ready to take profits. Apple, sitting right smack dab at the support level at the 200 after your doji best friend gap down. And stochastic still heading down. If you're trading this one, if it opens lower tomorrow, it's pretty much telling us that this support level is not acting as support, but the force of that best friend is still pushing things to the downside. Tesla, just a junky chart. Now you'd probably be more apt to start shorting it on weakness, but over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, there just hasn't been anything. So these are the type of charts where you say, all right, let's not trade this until we start seeing something definitive one way or the other telling us what the investor sentiment has actually done. Netflix had the kicker type signal, but it didn't confirm. We were expecting a 45 degree. But when they closed it back below the T-line today, what did it tell us about the 45 degree? Now all that chances are gone, so now what do we analyze? They did a double top. Where's our next likely target? Probably back down to the 50-day moving average. NVIDIA, best friend to the downside. Unfortunately, NVIDIA has gotten into the stage of yucko, just no direction. Where's our next possible target? Probably back down to this level in the 200, because you can pretty much draw a line through the bottom of these, bringing you to the 200. And Labu, although Labu is selling off, as far as the index, let's get rid of whatever that is. we've got a few of the biotechs that are acting well. So right now, there is not anything in what I call the big traders to go after. But there are good charts still setting up. Vodafone is one that Gary C., was this one you pointed out this morning in the options room? Notice the bullish flutter kicker. And what type of pattern is it setting up? A J-hook pattern. Why do we expect a J-hook pattern? Well, you can see it setting up. And what's starting wave 3? A bullish flutter kicker, which is, again, one of your most powerful bullish signals. So what's our upside potential? Basically from 27 to 30, we should head up toward the 33 area, which would kind of coincide the highs up in this range. MDR. This is why we have our training on which signals are the strongest signals. Number one, the best friend signal, doji gap up. I would suspect more upside on positive trading on this one. Let's see, I don't know whether... Nautilus. Best friend signal, doji gap up. What would we anticipate? 45 degree off of here, same as this trajectory. This is why we want to identify. I have a lot of people say, well, yeah, you show us charts where after the signal it does great. That's the exact reason why we show those charts. Because once we see the signal, we have to anticipate the results are going to be that it's going to be a strong price move after that. INSM, bullish engulfing gap up through the moving averages. Expect more upside on this one. HSIC, kicker signal. So the reason I'm pointing these out, I've got maybe a dozen right now that look good. So if you anticipate or if you kind of analyze that the market is not doing very well or just moving sideways, that with, what do you mean by a 45 degree? That usually once they pop up like this, they'll have a steady move to the upside, approximately 45 degree. Now our 45 degree could be like this, or it could be like this, but kind of anticipate that it's going to be a steady upward move after a strong price move. Tile Shop, TTS. We can recognize, excuse me, we can recognize that we've got this little slow curve for IPN bottom, and is it relevant? Yes, because they came through the 50 and stayed through the 50. So what else do we want to see, or what can we analyze on this chart if we've got a chart pattern that looks like it's fairly strong? Well, there's a gap all the way up here, so that becomes our first target. Is that worthwhile? If this stock moves from 640 to 820, I think that's about $1.60 on a 640 stock, that's a good 30% upside. Oops. ALK, another best friend gap up. Where's your next likely target? The 200. Remember, the reason we point out the best friend so often is it took me a while to say, oh man, that's another strong move. Am I late to the party? Well, after seeing best friend after best friend after best friend, you finally realize that when they do a best friend signal, the after results is more upside. So instead of being hesitant about buying something that's moved up strong, if we can analyze that it was a candlestick signal, like the best friend signal, we can go into it. When do you trade the best friend signal? If I didn't see it today, I get ready to buy it tomorrow on positive trading, because I am expecting a high probability result after a best friend signal, which is more upside. Morningstar signal and HIBB. Another one you can be buying on positive trading. Excuse me. BHVN. Where are we on this one? Kind of a T-line crunch, pushing us through the moving averages. I'd be a buyer of this one if it came up through what was the high today. 29. If this came up through 29.10, I'd be a buyer, because that would tell me I've got it broken out. Do you trade it on the close or above the bar? Usually I'm not going to find it until I do my scans at the end of the day. So it's usually going to be based upon how it opens the next day. Yes. And you want to see that that signal is confirmed. So anytime I see a signal, it's not because I was witnessing it during the time it was forming. It's probably because in my scans at night is when I found it. So now I know what to do with it the next day based upon how it opens. Hasbro, you can see the big belt hold bullish engulfing. Remember what this represents. That they took out a lot of sellers, and that's usually going to begin the next move to the upside. SPWH. J-hook pattern in progress. Another one that you can be buying on positive trading, because if this trade's positive, what's it telling you? The J-hook pattern is working, and this whole area right here is being broken out. You're probably in wave 3. What's this one tell you? You had a fry pan bottom setting up, and it gapped up through any resistance. Probably another one. And what's our doji rule? Doji rule says it's going to move in the direction of how they open it tomorrow. If they open this positive, you want to be buying, because essentially now, what do we expect coming out of a fry pan bottom? What's our number one expectation? There's going to be a breakout. That's what we're looking for coming out of the back end of a fry pan bottom. What's the magnitude of the next move? Don't know, but it's probably going to be consistent with this move right here. Yes, like spinning top is just, it represents the same thing. That there's indecision between the bulls and the bears. There's another kind of J-hook pattern. This is AROC. Another one that I wouldn't be afraid to be buying. Wave 1, Wave 2. Would Wave 2 occur? Right smack dab on the 200, using the T-line as support. If they open up positive, what's it tell us about our 200? It was just a consolidation area. Hawaii Bob, yeah, I might wait, depending on how the market opens. If the market opened flat like it did today, there was no rush to jump into anything unless it was moving pretty strong on its own merits. If we wake up tomorrow and we see that the pre-market futures are showing that the Dow's going to open up 85 points or 100 points, and the stock we're looking at, for example, this one, is opening positive, yeah, I might buy that within 90 seconds or so. On the other hand, if this is opening positive tomorrow, and the pre-market futures are showing that the Dow is going to open down 100 points, yeah, I'm just going to wait and see whether the effect of the overall market is going to kind of put a little stymie on the overhead on this trade. So if it opens up here and the market's heading down, I'll sit and watch it. Again, I'd rather be a little bit late, but I'd rather, if the market's heading down and this is heading up, that tells me that they're still buying in spite of what the market's doing. A J hook is just a wave 1, wave 2, and it does a little J hook to the upside. Evan, I would probably be 50-50 at this point. And the 50-50 means the longs that are in the position or in the portfolio are there because they're still trading strong and up above the T line. But other things, like this one, I want to have some short positions. If we can look at the market and see that it's not very strong, it's sideways. Remember, out of 10,000 trading entities, our scanning techniques, once you put your formulas in, takes as long as it takes to refresh your charts, which may be a minute, to start coming up with the best signals or patterns that were created during the previous day. So it doesn't take very long to find 3, 5, 7, 10, 12 long positions, 3, 5, 10, 12 short positions, and then decide, all right, this market looks soggy. I've already got 6 positions that are long that haven't told me that they're backing off yet. I've got 2 short positions on, and I've got enough to buy 2 more positions. I probably want to add a couple more shorts to my portfolio. This analysis right here keeps you from being overloaded on the long side or on the short side. The number one criteria when you wake up in the morning is, all right, what's our overall market trend? Do I want to be predominantly long, predominantly short, or 50-50? ESRX, another little J-hook pattern setting up. I wouldn't be afraid to be buying this one. Where's your logical targets? Somewhere up in this range. Now on the other side, on the short side, we know Alcoa got beat up today. Where did it get beat up? From a doji, hanging man, gap down. Where do you think the likely target right now is? Probably at least back here to the 50. This would coincide with filling that gap. Another aluminum mining company. Notice where this one failed. Right smack dab on the 50, and I bet you dime to donuts, you can pretty much draw a trend right through there. So this analysis is very simple. Which direction is this trend moving? Obviously, it's in a downtrend. And when it hits a resistance level, they sell it off. Where do you think your next target will probably be? Oops, that's not what I want to do. Probably down to the bottom of the trend channel. Will it support there? Who knows? We know it's heading in that direction. So what do we do once if and when it gets here? Just watch to see whether it holds. If it doesn't, now you've got another breakdown like this over here. Once again, just really simple analysis based upon where did the sell signals occur at a resistance level, and what's everybody else watching? The trend channel. when day trading, we base our chart analysis on daily charts and base our entry on short-term time frame. Yeah, if I'm day trading something, let's say I'm day trading Amazon, and it opens lower and trades lower, I can kind of assume I should be trading on the short side most of the day. So then when I flip to my 10-minute chart or my 5-minute chart, I'm more oriented toward shorting when I see that sell signal comes in. And that was during the day I trade futures. That's kind of the lean hog analysis. What direction are we heading in? We're in a downtrend. What happened when it got up here to the 50? Started selling off. What's that kind of assume? That we're still in this downtrending channel. So when it gapped down today, which direction, if I was day trading, did I want to be trading it? On the short side. If it opens lower tomorrow, which way do I want to be trading it? Again, on the short side, because it's probably coming lower into that trend channel. Light was something we were watching on the long side, but as we can see over the last few days, they started coming out of this one. There's our bearish kicker, and it did not support here. So where's our next likely target? Somewhere down in this range. There's a wee little gap right here on that kicker signal. They could be heading back down to test. Oops. So there's our bearish kicker signal. This is GLOG, one of the, I think this is one of the trucking, gas log, I don't know what it is, or the trucking company. But the fact that we're in a downtrend, now we've got a bearish kicker signal, where do you think the next likely target probably will be? The bottom of this trend. So here's one that's got a high probability of going short based upon weakness because of the strength of that bearish kicker signal. What kind of time frames do you use for placing option trades? Steve, that's all based upon the time frame you're planning to hold the options. Now, I usually hold my options for 3, 5, 10 trading days. And most of the time I'm trading the monthly options because I'm usually got too many things going on to watch shorter term trades. However, today I think we bought some calls on VRX because what's it going to do on positive trading from here? Move immediately. So instead of going out a month, I think we got the March 4 weekly options, which are 2 weeks out. This means it took 2 weeks for it to move this move, 2 weeks to move up here. How do you get the black border around the green? Oh, this is CQG, and that's the reason. Now I don't use CQG, or I wouldn't recommend it because I think it costs about $1,300 a month. So on any chart setup that you have, I know that if you go to any of them, there'll be not principles. Darn, what's the? You can click on the. Usually, what happens is if you click on the candle itself, it'll give you a whole bunch of things to do, whether it's the lines, the colors, that sort of thing. What is the reason that gaps are usually filled at a later date? Oh, preferences. Thank you, Rob. I don't know. It's just one of those adages that they say that all gaps eventually get filled. So a lot of people say, oh, when a gap's up, aren't you afraid it's going to come back and fill that gap? No, not on that move. That usually moves. That next move is going to be heading higher. It may fill the gap 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now. This VRX is chilling above the fry pan bottom. How would you trade this? I'm trading this on the basis that there's the fry pan bottom, there's the J hook, there's my next target. I'd be buying this one on strength tomorrow. SGH, observe the obvious. They failed at the T-line. Still in a downtrend. Where's your next likely target? Probably the 200, which would coincide with where it supported before. So, seeing that you had indecisive trading, dojis, right here on the T-line, and they failed to get through, tells you exactly what the investor sentiment was once they came back up to the T-line. Indecisive, and then they told you which way their decision was. So that is why your bricks and mortar is the 12 major signals. Knowing what each signal represents. That way you've got a much better indication of what is going to happen after that signal, which way they're usually going to move it. Which just gives you a little heads up or a little step ahead of everybody else. NTLA, you can see the slow curve. You can see the evening star signal. In this case, it was the 34 EMA that acted as resistance. Now, what do we have going on in this one? You've got your evening star signal. You've got your bearish doji sandwich. Essentially, you've got a bearish McMuffin. What's a bearish McMuffin usually indicate? There's going to be more downsides. The gold stocks were acting well, but now have given up everything. So as we can see in Kirkland, what do we have here? A very strong bearish doji sandwich. You can short this one. A McMuffin. A McMuffin is a morning star signal followed by a doji sandwich. Those are doji sandwich, doji, bullish, engulfing. So a morning star signal, doji sandwich, or a morning sandwich, that's your McMuffin. A reversal by itself based upon the morning star is likely. A continuation of a trend with a doji sandwich is likely, and when you combine the two, it makes it that much more likely your uptrend's in progress. Why don't you give any stock picks for the 12? Why don't you give any stock picks for the 12 candlestick signals? Lazarek, I still don't understand what that is. Why don't you give any stock picks? All the stock picks are based upon signals or patterns. So there's your bearish engulfing signal, an ABEO. We're in the overbought area. So if this opens lower, what do you want to be doing? You want to start shorting this one. And Lynette got a bearish doji sandwich. Another one that could be shorted based upon weakness from here. So right now, there are still stocks that have a lot of downside pressure as well as stocks that are still moving in the right direction. So if you can't figure out, or if you don't have to figure out, if you can analyze that we don't know what this market's doing other than moving sideways, we're always going to have more stocks moving positive than we're going to be able to handle. We're going to have good stocks moving lower that we can handle. So right now, you'd kind of nullify, what's the word? To have 5 longs and 5 shorts in the portfolio. CB, that is up to you. That's up to how much risk you want to take. Yeah, if you think the price move is going to be fairly quick, you might buy a weekly. If you think it's going to be a steady Eddie move to the downside, you might buy something a little bit further out. Yeah, that's what the rumor was, or the analysis was, that aluminum prices might drop because of they're relaxing the restrictions. Barry, hold on to your individual stock analysis until we get finished. So at this point, is there any general questions on candlesticks? You can ask your individual stocks as soon as I tell Jim to do the double line. So if you're going after an industry, obviously the crude oil stocks are going to act well. Whiting, for example, has continued to stay above the T-line. Other areas, such as gold stocks, not very much there to sink your teeth into, but right now it's selling off. That means the gold stocks don't really have any great pressure one way or the other, or at least to the upside. Okay, I guess with that, Jim, go ahead and do the double line. And in 3.8 seconds, do the next double line. Oh. Closing below the T-line during the day on an uptrend, we wait till the end of the day. If it is a downtrend, close immediately. Well, yeah, you're going to kind of get a feel. If you can see something is heading below the T-line and the market's heading down, and there's still an hour to go, yeah, you can close it out. But if the market's in an uptrend, and whatever stock you're following has come down and is trading below the T-line, I'd give it to the end of the day to see if they bounce back up again. Do you have a higher minimum volume on shorts? Yes. Only because of the availability of stock, that the more stock that's traded out there, the more likely whatever brokerage firm you're dealing with will have that stock available to short. So where I might be trading a universe of stocks on the long side that trade an average of more than 200,000 shares a day, if I'm shorting, I might be looking for stocks that trade at least 500,000 shares a day. NETE, you can be buying this one. More than likely you're going to be in a steady uptrend. I think we did HRTX, UNH. See, now this one's coming back to the T-line. Now, I would have closed this one out right here when it started trading below the low of the day where they gapped it up. If I was still long, I wouldn't want to see it trade below the T-line. We did Netflix. Netflix is really just kind of lethargic. I would have, if I was long, I would have closed it out today because you don't have any real direction. UCO, crude oil, still moving up nicely. WTI, stay long as this stays above the T-line. Dish, I'd get ready to go short on this one. If this opens lower, what do you have setting up? Bearish doji sandwich. Kind of a dumpling top. Which direction is this one moving? Obviously, this is in a downtrend. Looks like they can still be selling this off. Western, another one you can be shorting on weakness tomorrow. XLU, nothing. Wouldn't trade this one at all. There's just no direction to it. The diamonds, right now there's really no direction here, just kind of that sideways move. BMW, still waiting for the J-hook pattern to take place. And the reason we expect that is this is a very strong breakout with a kicker signal breakout, a bullish flutter kicker, profit taking, but as long as it stays above the 3T line, let alone the T line, you want to stay with it. IRM, I would have closed this one out Friday with it trading back below the T line. Right now, there's nothing on that chart that tells you which way it's going to go. I'd take my money out and move someplace else. Hertz, and not a very exciting stock. You can see that there's really no major trend movement to it. Another one that if you're long, you stay long, but I wouldn't want to see it close back below the T line. If it did that again, definitely would tell you there's no movement. Look at the bearish. This is another reason why you want to know what your individual candlestick signals signify. Look at the bearish Harami right here. If this was breaking out, which way should it have gone after this big candle day? At least flat or positive. The fact that they did a bearish Harami and closed right near the open of the previous day, who's in control? That tells you the buying had stopped and the bears are in control. Right now, you probably want to be more apt to go short on MU. ECYT, which direction is this moving? There's a simple rule. Look at your fry pan bottom, strong breakout. Notice what happened on the J-hook pattern. They never confirmed. When they closed below the T-line, told you at worst, you should not be in this anymore. Now which way is it moving? There's a very simple rule. If this is a new trend, it better get up above this level. If they fail, what type of move do you have? Usually a sideways move. If you're anything on this one, I'd be short. Definitely would not be long. There's just nothing there to tell you there's any reason to be in this one. Haynes, kicker signal. You can buy this one. Just be aware that you've got to get through all this downtrending stuff. ExxonMobil, stay long as it stays above the T-line. You're not going to make a whole heck of a lot of money, but if you like the big, solid, conservative stocks, it's moving in the right direction. Walmart, which direction is this moving? Nowhere. I'd be someplace else. EEQ, Another one, if you like it, you just stay long as it stays above the T line. Budweiser, stay short. See, we did Amazon. Amazon, nothing great here. You did support at the T line. If you're long, you can stay long, but as you can see, there's not any great resiliency right now. I would probably be out of it, waiting for stronger charts to show up. EBOI, you can stay long, just make sure your volume is pretty hefty on this price stock. HGV, you can be buying this one, especially if it opens positive tomorrow. You can see the fry pan bottom set up. Alley, nothing. Nothing there to tell you what this one's doing. And the SPYs, same thing. You're in a sideways mode. Right now, I wouldn't be trading long or short the indexes, only because we don't really know which way they want to go at this point. MDG or MDXG, another fry pan bottom you can just stay with as long as it doesn't close below the T line. IBM, it was getting beat up pretty bad. See the kicker signal? Right now you just stay short until you see a confirmed buy signal, which hasn't happened yet. GE, another one of the biggies. Oh boy. Still nothing magnificent on this one. You're in a downtrend, even though they popped it up a little bit, there hasn't really been any buying, which puts this into a category that I wouldn't be in GE at all, just because there's nothing there that shows a compelling bullish or bearish chart. AMD, another one, no direction. When you've got this many stocks that have absolutely no direction to it, when you have a position that doesn't look good, just move it to cash. If you don't have any ideas or any good charts to get into, just stay in cash for a few days. 2 days from now, there's going to be another slew of good buy or sells. Just have your money ready for it. Riot, I wouldn't be long or short. When they popped up and then came back down through this level, I'd have moved someplace else. ADMS, stay long. That's a nice fry pan bottom still working. NCLH, another little bobble breakout. You can stay long on this one. Oops, that one's not working. Paul, I can't get the Torontos on here. Sorry. Philip Morris, stay short. WTTR not working. Caterpillar. Caterpillar is not a very exciting chart. If you're long, you can stay long, but it needs to stay above the T line. If I was going to be a buyer, it needs to break out through the recent highs. Gel, another J-hook pattern. You can be buying this one with the expected target to be up here at the 200. SMLP, another J-hook pattern. Obviously watch to see what happens if it climbs up to the 50-day moving average. GSVC, nothing. If you were able to go short, you stay short, but I definitely would not be long on this one. Adobe, another one with it closing below the T line on Friday. I probably wouldn't be long or short this one. Shake Shack, same scenario. When it closed below the T-line on Thursday, I would have closed it out. As you can see right now, not any real resounding trend to it. United, we were getting right here to the breakout level for the bearish engulfing. Another one that doesn't have a real great chart. I wouldn't be in this one long or short. Red Hat. You can stay long, but as you can see, this one has to open positive tomorrow to stay in it. Ryder, another one that's going to do a bobble breakout if they open this positive. Today's high was 75.32. I'd be a buyer at 75.40, knowing that the next move is going to be up to the 200-day moving average. Apple, nothing. It might be a good short on weaker trading tomorrow. Valero, stay long. At this point, you're in the overbought area. You have a hanging man. I would have my safety stop just below today's low. Halliburton, another one where you just stay long. Wouldn't want to see this one close back below the T-line. NGLN, nothing. It doesn't come up. Western Digital, stay short. XEC, another fry pan bottom. You just stay with this one. Expected target, 200-day moving average. Workday, if you're long, it has to stay above the T-line to stay in it. If it opens lower, you're in this sideways trend. Fluor, stay long. It's an institutional trader. You won't make a whole heck of a lot of money, but it's moving in the right direction. XPO has to stay above the T-line to stay in it. It has to open up positive tomorrow. NCLH, you can stay long on this one. Goog. Where is it trading? I know it was trading up big after they announced earnings and then trading down. That one's going to be based upon how they open it tomorrow. Royal, just stay long. You're at this resistance level, so you got to see what it does tomorrow based upon the move after a doji. Tesla short target. I don't know if there's a target. I would suspect that if it rolls over, your next target should be back down here to the bottom of the at the support level. Baba, nothing. That's a crappy looking chart. Probably wouldn't be long or short this one. Whoops. SKYY, another one that if it opens lower, you want to be out of this one. Means you're in a sideways channel. Hack, same scenario. It has to open positive and trade positive to stay in it. INSEE, that's a nice fry pan bottom. Still need to see this trade positive tomorrow, but you can stay with this one. Very, another one that's kind of lost its steam on the gap up today. If this one opens lower tomorrow and I was long, I'd close it out because it's telling me it's not going anywhere, which means it has to open positive and trade positive. RES, stay long as it stays above the T line. VIAB, nothing. That's a dull looking chart. I'd be someplace else. BlackBerry, same scenario. You've got a doji today, so that at least tells you what to do based upon on how it opens tomorrow. Best Buy did stay above the T line. You can stay with it if you're long, as long as it stays above the T line, because that tells you this trend channel stays in progress. You can see that most stocks are having a hard time getting above their resistance. Yes. So that should tell you that this market doesn't have any great resiliency to it. So just take a couple of days and let your cash dry out a little bit and be ready to buy on the next signals or patterns. Goldman. Goldman I wouldn't trade because there's no chart to it, but at least it gives you an indication of what the investor sentiment is, one of the kind of the bellwethers, which means we're still soggy heading south. PNC needs to get up above the T line before you can do anything with it. Walgreens, sideways. I wouldn't be long or short this one. Raytheon, all you can do here is stay long, but notice you're starting to flatten out. If it traded flat tomorrow, I'd probably close out the position and then buy it if it came back up through the highs of the flat area. NAC, wouldn't be long or short. This one should have broken out and came back down through the 50. I'd be someplace else. GWPH, all you can do here is stay long as it stays above the T line. Silica, another one that has to open positive and trade positive to stay in it. Okay, so the overall analysis is that this market is very blasé. So don't try to force any trades because you're going to be kind of spitting into the wind. NTEC wouldn't be long or short this one. There's nothing there. So when you see the market like this, just have to kind of say to yourself, this is not a good trading market. Let me sit for a couple of days and wait to see what happens. So with that, everybody have a good evening. We will see you bright and early in the chat rooms tomorrow. We'll see you then.